Good evening, Sword Family. Welcome to the Teahouse. I originally had a completely different plan for tonight. I was going to talk about Confucius because earlier this week was World Confucius Day. So that was originally going to be my plan. However, I got into a bit of an argument with someone on Facebook, which, yes, I know is incredibly stupid and not really a worthwhile use of my time, but someone was being pedantic and wrong, and I decided to attempt to educate them. Instead of accepting that they were wrong, they decided to pull out a literal no true Scotsman fallacy. And it really got to annoy me. I don't like people who refuse to admit that they're wrong and people who gatekeep. And he was pulling both of these things at the same time. And it was last Sunday, so it's been almost a week ago now. But at the same time, I thought maybe it would be a good way to educate some of the actual intelligent people in the world, like the people in my comments, give them a little bit of information about a small section of Chinese military history. Now, before we get into everything, as always, we catch up on comments. Not that many today. That's good to know. And first person through the door is my one and only patron, Joe Bachman, who will also be the second guest on Tea Time in 2 weeks on October 12th. So look forward to that one. Good evening, folks. Good evening, Joe. And next is the lovely Trey, my last guest, who was an amazing guest and who we continue to talk for another 40 or 45 minutes after the stream ended. But it was fun. And I'm kind of hoping that trend continues. Because I was really enjoying throwing just random interviews in to fill in the gaps of my used to be 2 weeks. So, hello, Trey, and good evening, Dan. And Trey greets Dan, and now Foxy shows up. Hello, everyone. Trey greeting Foxy, and the lovely Dawn is here. Hello, Dawn. And there is Kitty greeting everyone. And hello, Kitty. And Trey greeting Dawn and Kitty. And Foxy, don't forget to like and share and all those other good things. Yes. Donna and Carl will not be with us tonight. They will be missed. But they can watch the rerun. And Dawn says after this, I need to rewatch The Burning. It was pretty good. The end result, I think you'll really like the end result. It was well done. Kitty said, showtime. Yes. Dan posted the first photos of Little Bertha on Facebook. I saw that literally right before I got on here. Nice, Dan. Yes, I just said hello, Kitty. Damn it. Told her I was never going to say that. Oh, well. All right. So let's get into this. Last Sunday, I was tagged in a picture on Facebook. Or I was tagged in the comments of a picture on Facebook. Our friend Cindy posted a picture. This picture right here. We got Tien, we got Dao, and we got a big, gigantic Dao. Big, huge thing. And it was Nick who was the one who tagged me in the comments. Apparently, those are Chinese weapons, but they are HEMA grade. So they're probably not sharp. They're probably blunted. But they are beautiful weapons. And Nick said that they also said they were beautiful and said that I was going to lose my mind, which I promptly did. And enter the asshole. Don't know this person. Not going to name this person. But if you're friends with me on Facebook, you probably saw this. And there's my lovely co-host coming because she knows I'm about to lose my mind. The asshole decides to say, not meaning to be a nit, but the one on the right is a katana, which is Japanese, not Chinese. Now, yes, cackles maniacally. Hush. Let's look at that again. That is a gigantic sword. The guard looks fairly oval shaped, much like the Dao down here. The handle is not wrapped. The hanging system is different. The end cap is similar to the end cap on the Tien. Nothing about this says katana. Nothing. However, that was his contention, is that's a katana. It is not. Enter the Asshole sounds like a kung fu movie. Yeah. Prepare to be educated. I tried, but he wouldn't listen. And even Cindy said, I don't think so. I'm sure that the person who brought them and me, once again, I'm not using names, could say for sure, I'm not a master of all things Asian weaponry, but that one on the right seems mighty tall for a katana. So here I come in. I said, it isn't. No handle wrap, and different fittings. It is a Chinese Janma Dao. Oh, we'll get to that, Dan. Believe me, we'll get to that. Idiot was probably being confused by the blade being curved as well as their lack of education. We'll get to that. And we're going to bring this picture up showing all the different type of Chinese Dao. We have Pu Dao, we have the Da Dao, we have the Nine Ring Dao, Bagua Dao, and all the way over here, this one right here, that is the Janma Dao. It is long, curved, fairly long handle. Says right here, Janma Dao. Even shows the characters down here. This is the New Way Dao. That's what the other one is this right here. This is your stereotypical Kung Fu Dao that you see in most movies. That's what that is right there. And if you look at the colors up here, they match with the colors up here. So the ones in red are from the Qing. The ones in black are from the Ming or earlier. And the ones in blue are what collectors call them. Most things, if you look back in history, they were just swords. They didn't need all these fancy terminology. It was just, this is a sword, this is a sword, this is a sword. So, I said, this is a Janma Dao. And Nick popped in with a little bit of backup, saying that I came to say the same thing, that hilt geometry is far too round and long for a katana. Katanas, the handles are not round. They're oval shaped. Let us bring this back up again. That is a round handle. You can tell just by looking, this is not a katana. Come on now. But no. Idiot comes back with, I must disagree. While I agree the handle wrappings may be missing or done in black, I would concede the point except for two things. The Janma Dao, literal horse chopper, was a straight blade. That is a definitive statement. The Janma Dao was a straight blade. While this one is curved like a katana, and katanas came in different sizes, katana, which was about the same size as a regular sword, and the Nodachi, which was an anti-cavalry katana similar in size and used to the Janma Dao. Only the Nodachi was curved, while the Janma Dao was straight. Twice in the same statement, Janma Dao was straight. Definitive statement. Not could be straight, was straight. Not a hill I'm willing to die on, but as someone with an Asian history degree and a profound interest in ancient iconic weapons, that's my considered opinion. This person claims to have a history degree and profound interest and made a definitive, declarative statement that Jammadao were straight. So, I came back. Jammadao had been drawn in military manuals as being curved since the 18th century, and historical examples have been found that are curved and not straight. Idiot comes back. Every picture I can find of a genuine Jammadao has a straight blade. There's the no true Scotsman. Genuine Jammadao. For the people who don't know, no true Scotsman is a logical fallacy. It goes something like this. Two men are sitting in a bar. They're discussing Scotland. And one guy says, well, no Scotsman puts sugar in his porridge. Second guy says, hold on, wait a second. My uncle Angus is Scottish, and he puts sugar in his porridge. And the first guy, instead of admitting that he was wrong, goes, well, no true Scotsman puts sugar in his porridge. You're making a declarative statement that something is or isn't something else, and then just someone else comes along and shows you that you're wrong, and you just go, well, that's not a true whatever it is. Should have made popcorn. You've been listening to this all week. I'm sure you're tired of hearing this shit. Individual watched Kenshin and took it as gospel. I wonder if they have a 20-foot vertical. It gets better. So he's flat out saying genuine Jammadao sword has a straight blade. Now here comes the equally stupid. Now there were pole arms that were also called Jammadao from the Ming Dynasty that had curved blades, but those were essentially equivalent to the Western glaive, and the one in the picture is clearly not a pole arm, as pole arms did not have scabbards. So in the same statement, he contradicts himself. Every picture I can find of a genuine Jammadao has a straight blade. There were pole arms also called Jammadao from the Ming that had curved blades. You just contradicted yourself, moron. You just contradicted yourself. You just said also called Jammadao from the Ming that had curved blades. Yes, I know you have. Which is why I encourage you to get it out of your system here. No, I was already going to do this. I told you Monday morning or something. Or maybe it was Wednesday morning. It was one of these. So now let's go back to this picture. What does that say right there? Jammadao. Those are the characters. Jammadao. Long, round handle. Rounded guard. Curved blade. From the Ming or earlier. It's right there. It's obvious. But that wasn't good enough for Mr. I have degrees in Asian history. So I brought up another picture. And that is this one. Qing Dynasty, 1760s, military manual. Right here. Liu Ying Jiang Ma Dao. It's right here in the margin. Says Jiang Ma Dao. And I shared that picture and showed it. This is a military manual. Yes, it is a scan, but it is from an original dated Qing Dynasty military manual. And I said, Qing Dynasty military manual depicting curved Jiang Ma Dao. Even says Jiang Ma Dao on the right-hand side of the page. And this is where the idiot doubles down. Now, in the Qing Dynasty, there was a longer curved blade issued to the Liu Ying or Green Camp called a Liu Ying Jiang Ma Dao. Again, you made a declarative statement that Jiang Ma Dao had straight blades. And now, twice, you have shown that there were curved blades called Jiang Ma Dao. So if the weapon is supposed to be a replica of the Liu Ying Jiang Ma Dao, then I concede the point. But given that was a relatively recent adaptation and only given to limited companies of soldiers, it is not representative of the overall history of what the Jiang Ma Dao was. Excuse me? The 18th century, yes, in the grand scheme of history, is a recent development, but it is a representation of history because it existed in history. You can't just hand wave away because you were proven to be wrong, and even in two separate statements shown that you were wrong, and then just hand wave it away as, well, I'm right because the overall history. No, shut up. This was a military manual. This was given to Chinese Qing and Ming dynasty soldiers to fight with. You don't get to decide just because you declare it so that something is not what it is and is named just because you don't like it. And again, what are those two other words before Jiang Ma Dao? Liu Ying. In a different response, I denoted that a very limited design called the Liu Ying Jiang Ma Dao did have a curved blade, but that was a late development and only issued to the Liu Ying army, so it is not at all indicative of the overall history. But as I said, if the sword in the picture was intended to be a replica of the Qing dynasty Liu Ying Jiang Ma Dao, then I concede the point. But in general, that is a very niche iteration of the Jiang Ma Dao in overall history of the sword. And at that point, I decided there was no point in continuing this conversation. Because this person had shown that they were incapable of admitting, one, that they were wrong, and two, that they didn't know as much as they thought they did. He even said himself that in two separate times, two separate dynasties had curved Jiang Ma Dao, but he didn't consider them to be Jiamadao because they were curved. That's not your decision. It's written in military manuals as a Jiamadao. It doesn't matter if it was a Liu Ying army Jiamadao, it's still a Jiamadao. That would be like me saying that all Jian, all of them, declarative statement, all Jian have wing-shaped guards. They don't, obviously. And then someone else comes along and shows me pictures or shows me historical examples of Jian that did not have wing-shaped guards. And then me just hand-waving all that away and saying, well, those are from an earlier dynasty, and those don't really count because the Qing dynasty is actually the historical example of the Jian that everyone sees today. You made a declarative statement. Yes, in the Han, in the Song, in the earlier dynasties, Jiamadao had ring-shaped pommels and straight single-edged blades. That part is true. But by the time of the Qing and the Ming dynasty, the military was no longer issued straight blades. This is where the history comes into everything. I'm going to give you a little bit of Chinese history that I'm sure that Mr. I have degrees in Asian history should know this. By the early parts of the Ming dynasty, the military started using curved blades. Why? They're easier to mass produce. And they're easier to train the troops how to use. Straight, double-edged blades are harder to use. There's an old saying in Chinese that says 100 days to master the fist, 1,000 days to master the saber, which is the Dao, and 10,000 days for the sword or the Jian to master you. The point of that saying is that it takes less time to be able to master an empty hand, a fist, and a Dao than it takes to master a Jian. So by the early Ming, all military blades were curved because they're easier to mass produce and they're easier to train. Just because the earlier swords had straight blades, it does not mean that the later curved blades don't count. You do not get to dismiss military blades from 200 or more years ago just because they don't fit in your narrow view of what a Dao should be. Bet you're learning more about Chinese history tonight than you had before. He really picked the wrong person to argue with. And I could have continued. I could have kept going. I could have said the same thing to him on Facebook that I'm saying now. But what would have been the point? He would have just dismissed everything I was saying by being like, well, that wasn't a Jamadao, that was a Liu Ying Jamadao. Who cares? It's still listed in military manuals as a Jamadao. The earlier ones had straight blades. So what? You don't get to wave off history just because it's relatively recent history. History is history. It wouldn't matter if it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago. COVID was 4 years ago. That is really, really recent in the grand scheme of history, but it's still a part of history. And you are an asshole who thinks that just because something is a niche or relatively recent, that it doesn't count. That's just stupid. That's just a completely ignorant view from someone who claims to have an Asian history degree. I went over this. The dog is whining because she thinks I'm angry at her. So I'm going to bring it back down a little bit. We went over this when I was talking about the Hanjian. And people saying that what we today look at as a Hanjian, like this one right here, this guard is not indicative of what a Hanjian actually looked like. See if we can bring this up now. Because I did talk about this in one of my earlier videos. So let's bring this up. This is the LK Chen Flying Phoenix Hanjian. 202 BC to 220 AD. That tiny, thin little guard. Now we compare that to this. This is much wider. It's shorter. You have this nice little point at the end. Compared to this one, which also has a small point, is much thinner, and it's a little bit longer. Now people are saying that that is what an actual Hanjian looks like, which is cool, because there have been historical blades found with that style of guard. Again, we've been over this. I did a whole separate video about the difference between Han, Tang, and Qing Dynasty guards. It's on this channel. You can probably find it if you want to. But saying that Hanjian did not have guards like the one I have is a declarative statement. And as I said in that video, I think they're wrong. Because of come on, where's it? I know this is dead air, but I'm looking for something. Another of LK Chen's Jian is the Roaring Dragon. I feel like at the end of this, we need the more you know sign that Trey made to show and then send this video to the person he's ranting about. It would be funny, but it would be pointless because he's just gonna hand wave away everything I'm saying and say the Qing Da Zhang Ma Dao does not count. It was a Liu Ying Zhang Ma Dao, and Zhang Ma Dao were straight. No true Scotsman. Needn't further feed the troll. And that's exactly why I said when he came back with a literal no true Scotsman saying, well, that's a Liu Ying Zhang Ma Dao, not a Zhang Ma Dao. I decided it was not worth further discussing this with a person who, like I said at the beginning of this video, refused to admit they're wrong and gatekeeps. I hate people who refuse to admit they're wrong and who gatekeep. So back to the Han. Okay. This is a Roaring Dragon Chujian from 315 to 221 BC. So even earlier than the Hanjian. And yes, in this picture, it has a long, thin guard. But look up here. This is the piece it was based on. It was dated from the Chu dynasty. Look at that guard. Look at that. It is wider. It is shorter. It has a more pronounced point. So saying that Jian from the Han dynasty only had guards like this is a declarative statement that I think is wrong, because we see earlier Jian with that type of guard. That sword was pulled from a tomb of a Chinese emperor and if I can find the picture, which is apparently not on LK Chen's website, no, not Gojian, that's the wrong one. But yes, even that one. Let's look at that one. Because here's another one that was also pulled out of an emperor's tomb. And was from... Oh, that one's from later. But still, if we look at it, the guard is wider and shorter. This is the sword of King Goujian of Yue. But that's not the one I was looking for. But it doesn't really matter. If you really want to see the stuff I'm talking about, go look up my video where I compare the different styles of Chinese jian. Because I found a really, really good close-up picture of a guard that is almost identical to this one. And it was pulled out of a tomb that was dated as even earlier than the Han. So making a declarative statement and saying Han Dynasty swords did not have guards like that. Number one, you can't say that because you weren't there. This is many, many, many thousands of years ago. 2,200 years ago. And number two, you have surviving examples from even earlier eras that did have guards like that. And this is the same thing that I dealt with the asshole. He just decides, oh, this is what a Jianmadao looks like because it comes from the Han Dynasty or the Song Dynasty. But later dynasties still existed, and later dynasties still used blades that still got classified under the same name. But because you decide it's not what it is delineated as, you just are going to say, well, no, because no true, no genuine Jianmadao. That is, by definition, a no true Scotsman fallacy. You're pulling this quite literally out of your ass and saying, well, no true, genuine Jianmadao had a curved blade, but there were curved Jianmadao in the Ming, and there was Jianmadao in the Qing that was Liu Ying Jianmadao, but those don't count. He didn't use those specific words. He didn't say that they don't in those exact words, but that's basically what he was saying. He was saying they were only given to a small portion of the troops, that it's recent and was very niche. So what? Why does that make a difference? It's still a Jianmadao. You say it's not, you're wrong. Like I said, this is no different than me saying that Jin have wing-shaped guards. They don't. There are many different types of guards on a Jin. Some that I'm not particularly fond of, but that's besides the point. And someone coming along and showing me a Han Jian or a Tang Jian or a Song Jian There are even Jian out there that have round oval shaped guards like a Dao. So let's have a little hypothetical. I'm sitting in a tea house, enjoying my tea. In walks Mr. Asshole. Sits down. Maybe I'm looking through a reproduction Qing Dynasty military manual. And here he comes. And we start having a discussion. And I'm talking about Tien because it is a passion of mine. I mean, most Asian weapons and martial arts are a passion of mine, but I'm very, very into the Tien. So he strikes up a conversation, and we're talking about all the different styles of Tien. And then he decides to bring up this one. Here we have a Ming Dynasty Jian, 1368 to 1455 AD. And he says, did you know that a Jian was discovered that had a guard similar in shape to a Dao? This is the original that it's based on. You can see that guard. You don't see very many round guard Jian. But apparently, they did exist. Actually, need to bring up the picture. So this is the original. And here's the reproduction. Yes, it's another LK Chen sword. Shut up. Yes, I know. I just did. And I look at him and go, no. Jian didn't have round Dao-shaped guards. And he says, oh, but they did. They found one. And they dated it from the Ming Dynasty. And I just double down and go, no. Jian did not have Dao-shaped guards. And then he shows me this. There's the guard. There it is. It's round and flat like a Dao. Handle looks rather awkward with the end bits being so elaborate. That's a very, very extra long pommel. And the reproduction has rayskin wrap on it, so it would be kind of rough on your palms. Now, like I said, I could be like, okay, cool. I learned something. Move along with my day. Or I could be an asshole. And I could go, well, that's from the Ming. That doesn't count. That's a Ming Dynasty Jian. That's a small portion of the history of the Jian and very, very niche, so it doesn't count. That's me pulling a No True Scotsman and discounting an entire section of history just because it didn't fit within what I considered to be historical. But it existed, and it was there, and people used it. So I don't get to just decide that it didn't exist because it doesn't fit within the paradigm of what I considered a Tien to be. I can admit when I was wrong. And I try really, really hard not to gatekeep things. And when I do, I try to realize that I'm doing it and be like, okay, hold on, wait, let's. I am not. This has nothing to do with Chinese history or philosophy or anything like that. But it's proving a point. I severely dislike country music. I don't like it. I don't listen to it. If I'm forced to listen to it, I try and find ways to get out of that situation. I severely dislike most death metal. It just sounds like animal noises and someone just beating the ever-living shit out of a snare drum. I don't like them. I don't consider them to be good music. But it's still music. Death metal is still metal. Whether I like it or not, it's metal. It falls under the category of metal music. I don't like it. But I do not say this isn't metal, because that would be gatekeeping. That would be denying something just because I don't like it. My parents are very, very fond of country music. And several years ago, I got into an argument with my father. They're never going to find this channel, so they're never going to hear this. And even if they did, it might do them some good to hear this. They'd have to get through the other 55 minutes of this video, and I highly doubt they'd get past the first 10 minutes of me ranting. We were talking about American Idol. Yes, at one time, I watched American Idol. American Idol declared itself from the beginning as they search for the next pop star. That, just go with me here. 1 year at the same time, there was another singing competition called Nashville Star, which declared itself as the search for the next big country hit. Country, Nashville Star. Pop, American Idol. Two separate genres of music. That year, the winner of American Idol was Carrie Underwood, a country star. She could have won Nashville Star. She didn't. She won American Idol. I was arguing with my father that she should not have won because she was a country star, not a pop star. Yes, I realize gatekeeping, because country and pop now are basically the same thing. But Carrie, the whole point of this competition was to show that you could sing in different styles. That's why they had theme weeks, rock week, Elvis week, 90 week. You're supposed to show your range, that you can sing in many different styles. In my opinion, Carrie Underwood didn't do that. Every single week, she sang country. Rock week was country. 90s week was country. Elvis was country. That's not what you're supposed to be showing. You're supposed to be showing your range in different styles. She won. Okay, whatever. The people picked her. She's the champion. Blah, blah, blah. But I made the statement that she should not have won because there was a separate country competition that she should have won. I was gatekeeping. I know that. But at the same time, my father made the statement, well, I don't think that matters. Music is music. So, okay, cool. Music is music. All right, sweet. Later on, I don't remember. It was a year or 2 or 5 or 12 or what it was. It was years later. We were watching the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm not a football person. I don't care about the NFL. But sometimes we would go over to my parents' house for a Super Bowl party just to enjoy the commercials and have some snacks. So, excuse me. We go over, enjoy the commercials. Here comes the halftime show. The halftime show, I don't remember if it was just one person or if it was the entire band, but Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers was up on stage playing music. And I was enjoying it because it wasn't your usual awful halftime show. And my dad is throwing a fit. Oh, what the hell is this crap? Get this idiot off the stage. This isn't music. Hold on. What do you mean this isn't music? It is music. He's playing an instrument. It's music. Now, obviously, I didn't say this out loud, but I very, very strongly wanted to. I very much wanted to turn to him, look him dead in the eye, and say, I thought music was music. What's the difference here? The difference here is you don't like this. You like Carrie. You like country. So what you meant when you said that was your music is music. Gatekeeping, refusal to admit you were wrong. Little mini rant, but it goes along with the overall theme of you don't get to discount something just because it doesn't fit within your idea of what something is. We are over slightly our hour. And as always, I need to go eat my dinner. I hope that Donna and Carl will enjoy this later. I hope that my wonderful audience enjoyed getting a small glimpse into seeing what happens when I get on a rant about something. I will be back on October 5th, 2 days after my 44th birthday. And I'm thinking for that stream that we can discuss some of the history and culture of celebrating birthdays in Asian countries. Because it'll be after my birthday to delve into. So that'll be next week. There we go. And the week after that will be the next issue of Tea Time. So that'll be fun to look forward to. Thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone in the comments. I love my sword family. People are awesome. And I will see everyone next week. 再见。